clinical researchers just did episode 171 of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. It was inspired by a client of ours that was asking how to recruit patients for her studies offline. So, let me give you some background. This person has a PI who is a physician, obviously, and they have a whole bunch of other healthcare providers in the office that are lukewarm, to say the least, about clinical research, but they have tons of patients that they could theoretically refer her. So she wants to know the best ways to go about doing this. Again, this is offline strategies only, so we're not using social media. As much as I love social media, we're not using it. Patient trust their physicians. Patients trust their healthcare providers. So you need to go and make the most efficient use of your time and go talk to the healthcare providers. Most likely, they don't know what research is either. So how do you expect someone, a healthcare provider, who doesn't understand what clinical research is, to refer their own patients who they are entrusted to take care of their well-being and their health to you, who they barely know, right? Or maybe they do know you, but they don't understand this clinical research stuff. So you need to start with lunch and learns. If that's with your own physician or the colleagues of your PI, they could be other doctors, they could be nurse practitioners, they could be physician assistants, they could be psychologists, whatever kind of healthcare providers are in your therapeutic niche. You need to go have a lunch and learn with them. Start with the colleagues and the sphere of influence of your own PI, and set up a lunch and learn and bring sandwiches. They're used to, and only target the ones with private practice. Don't target the ones that don't see patients, because then you're wasting your time. So set up a lunch and learn, bring sandwiches. If there's 5 healthcare providers or 10 healthcare providers, just expect that half of them are only interested in the sandwiches and have zero interest in you or research. They just either, they don't want to be rude, or they don't want to insult your physician or whoever referred you to them. So they're just taking the meeting to be nice. Half of them. The other half might be interested. It might range from cold to lukewarm to red hot, and there's ways to assess their interest levels based off of this. But the lunch and learn is just the initial breaking the ice. You're filtering out those that are not interested. The ones that are, you now want to do individual one-on-one follow-ups with, and I'm going to talk about that right now. For these individual one-on-one talks, you want to get the healthcare provider alone, maybe for 2 minutes, maybe for 20 minutes, maybe for as long as they can. And you don't have to bring food this time. They're already interested, at least to some degree, and at least learning more about research. So now you got to figure out, what are their objections? And then what do they want to get out of research? So once you answer their objections, now you got to figure out, well, what do they want to get out of research? Do they want to be more involved in research? From a prestige perspective, do they want to add streams of revenue to their own business, to their own private practice? Have they heard about research before? Maybe some of their colleagues are doing really good in research and they want to know how to get in on it. Maybe they want to be involved with the pharma people on the R&D side and not just the sales side. Whatever it is, you need to figure out through as many follow-up meetings as you can what they want, and then you work towards, if you can, don't make promises that you can't deliver on. If you can, you do whatever it takes to help them accomplish those goals. But it's really all about the follow-up. So follow up. Nothing will happen. Nothing at all will happen if you just give the physicians or the practitioners a bunch of flyers right after your lunch and learn. Nothing will happen. You might get lucky. Some patient might find one of those flyers, or they might even put it in their waiting rooms, but nothing really is going to happen from that meeting if you just give them flyers or give them your business card. You have to follow up. You have to do the one-on-ones, and even after you do the one-on-ones, you've got to continue following up until you see that they are now actively getting involved. Maybe they're a sub-investigator now, maybe on the delegation of duties log now. Let them do some of the assessments. Let them start referring some of their patients. Start pre-screening some of the patients. Maybe you can help pre-screen. You can show them how. You can teach their staff how to pre-screen. You can start looking at the schedule of the patients that they have coming in for that day or that week. You can go through those patient charts and flag the ones that you think will qualify for the study so that they can talk to them when they come in about research. Say, hey, you may qualify for this study. Here's what it is. The patients are much more likely to listen to their healthcare provider because they trust them than they are to listen to you, a stranger, talk about experimental treatments. So that's really it. It's all about the follow-ups. It's not just something cool I like to say. This is how it works. And of course, this is a full-time job. Of course you need somebody to do this nonstop for best results. But if you're bootstrapping or you're just starting out, you can do this on a part-time basis while wearing all your other hats of building up your site. But once you get to a certain point where you want to invest in somebody to do this full-time, a community outreach specialist, you will see returns on that investment immediately if it's done right and if you follow up with your employees at that point. So the following up never stops. Now you got to follow up with your employees at that point. This will work, and of course one-on-one with patients also works. You should go to health fairs, patient advocacy groups, but that's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother video. We're going to get into that later. This one's just about targeting healthcare providers to improve patient recruitment at your site. Talk to y'all soon. Look out for the podcast. It is episode 171 of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. Take care.